It's great to have back on the podcast Coach Mark Cascio of SAVI Coaching. Coach, thanks for coming on.
Man, this is always really fun to be able to visit with you. We were just talking off camera. We spent a lot of time together the last couple months, just doing some projects together. And I always get just as much out of these as I hope everybody listening does. Just it gives me an opportunity to communicate some things, clarify my thinking, and always look forward to learning from you as well.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of feedback from these, not because we're great, but I think it does just stimulate kind of thinking. And sometimes even the questions that we ask, I know the coaches that we have listening to this seem to be quite integrated with everything that all of us are doing. And we have similar questions. And yeah, it's a time for learning for everybody. So I really enjoy it talking about that group of coaches. But this month at SAVI Coaching, kind of devoted specifically to player development here in the off season. I've seen some teams, they're already back in the weight rooms. They're doing morning runs. They're playing together, getting together. And then, of course, right around the corner, it will be time for summer ball, whether that's your team going off to a camp together or whatever. So sticking primarily to the off season and the player development component to things. Coach, what was your calendar for the off season here, starting with the late April, early May months?
Yeah, I think a lot goes around your state association and the restrictions that you have. So I'll give you in Louisiana, my last stop as a head coach at the high school level. At this time of the year, my priorities were strength and conditioning with the main focus on the strength part. And it's like, let's get in the weight room 4 days a week and let's play as much pickup as we can, because I think that is a great way to stay in shape. Right now, if you're not able to practice, if you're not able to do like structured skill development sessions, a lot of coaches can do open gyms where all are welcome, get in there and play. And just by playing, you will get better. Obviously, as a coach, we want to shape the environment and have a more targeted focus. But I felt like if my guys were playing, having fun, they might feel compelled to stay after and get some shots up. They might feel themselves getting stronger and those things. I do think this is player development season, though. At SAVI, we're really a player development program or a philosophy first, because the best way to improve your teams is to improve your players and your skill level, right? That is why transfer portal is so important today. That is why recruiting has always been the lifeblood of programs. At the high school level or even the college level, the hand you're dealt, let's make those players as good as possible in their roles. You can do that through player development. I actually like that you're using the term player development, because we want to develop the entire player, and not just focus so much on like the technical aspect of the game. But I think a big win in the offseason is when you can invest in your players on a mental side, physical side, tactical side, and a technical side.
That begs the question then, what does a SAVI workout look like? And then what does the SAVI player development, person development look like here in the summer?
I'll start with the player or the person development. I think anytime you're coaching through values and you're willing to hold standards, it's almost impossible not to develop people. If one of your values is hard work, if one of your values is being resilient, or whatever those core values that hopefully coaches are using, if those are actually your values and they're guiding your decision making, they're guiding your processes and your systems, then it's one of those things where it's going to be impossible to be part of your program and not get better. And I would ask coaches that are listening to think about this. Think about like the best job you've ever had, or the best staff that you've ever been on, the best group of friends that you've ever had close to you at some point in your life. It was impossible to be around them and not absorb their beliefs and not absorb their behaviors. I know, for instance, I'm thinking of a couple places that I've worked. Just spending time with the other coaches and faculty members and being around that environment every day, it's just hard not to get better. And that was my goal as a head basketball coach. Can we just create an atmosphere, an environment where the people that are here are going to get better because of all of our processes and systems? Because I don't think player development or person development is seasonal. It's not like, oh, this is the off season. We have time to invest in culture. We have time to invest in our kids. I think that's a 365-day job for you as a coach.
You mentioned the portal, and I think that this topic is even more important than it was 4 years ago, 5 years ago, because if kids can see that you care about them, everybody points to the money. A lot of people are driven by the money, but there's a lot of people out there that it's not about the money. It's about the relationships and their development. And I have coaches who are at D1 level who are going by that philosophy, and they're having success because they are taking the time to focus in on the stuff that matters outside of just the winning.
add one thing to that, and then I'll go into the player development piece as far as like on the court. Every player in your program is asking two questions, whether they're just now coming in or they're in their second, third year is, am I safe here? And am I better off here? And I think if your players, if you're in a transfer portal environment era, if your players feel like they're safe and they feel like they're getting better, then they'll have less reasons to leave, or they won't want to leave. We've all seen those players that like stick it out and become that success story. It's because something was keeping them there. And hopefully that is the way that you're running your program and you're investing in your players.
During those workouts, can you talk about the actual on the court stuff?
Having a system for player development. Let's just define player development. I would say that is skill plus decision making. Okay, we want to combine those things. I know I made this mistake. I see it a lot is skill becomes technique or drills for coaches, and we hope that it translates. Whenever we combine any skill with the decision, so reads first, technique second, that's automatically going to give you a framework that you can play off of. Whenever I walk into a gym with a player, and let's just say, we don't know like an exact skill that this player needs to build right now. Let's just take a generic approach as a head coach. We're building our players within our system, because that's what you want. You want your skill development or player development to align with your principles of play. So there should be a lot of overlap between the technical and tactical. There's a 4-step framework that every possession goes through. It's create, use, find, and finish. And I've adapted this from other stuff. As far as player development and team development, I just work backwards. So we work on it's CUFF, right? Cuff, create, use, find, and finish. It's an acronym. Finish is the last F. I would start there. Any one of our workouts, we're going to work on finishing the shots that we want. The shots that we want are 9s and 7s. That's big advantage 2s, big advantage 3s. Let's work on finishing those first. So we're going to get shots, we're going to get finishes with context, with decision, with read. That means with defense, whether it's live or guided. Then we're going to go to find. And this is where you can start loading players in. This is where you now start to work reads and decisions with multiple players involved. I would put offense at an advantage. Anytime you put offense at an advantage, you're going to force help and rotation. When you force help and rotation, you force decisions. So now, can we find a 9 or a 7 and finish it? So think there's a big advantage on the floor. Do we get there? If we rewind one step back, we've got to use a small advantage, more than likely, to create that big advantage or get defense in the blender. So now, can I leverage my small advantage, and can we turn that into a big advantage situation? That's going to be playing with small advantage. So everybody's seen, everything on Twitter or Instagram where we're playing shoulder to shoulder. We're creating some type of environment where we have to finish against a body. And then last is, can we create an advantage? And I think there's 2 parts of this. Can I create an advantage just one-on-one? Obviously, the more players you have on your team that can do that, you got to run less offense, right? Everything becomes a lot easier if we have Jimmy and Joe that can just create their own advantage against a defender. The second part of that, though, is, can I create an advantage with action? And that's where you start to incorporate your offensive actions. Can me and you use this action to get defense in the coverage and then punish them for coverage? And then that kind of recycles back. We've got defense in the coverage. Punishing them would be finding and finish the advantage.
There is something that I have seen that you say on social media in regards to the feedback that you give to the players during these workouts. So it's one thing for you to do what you just said, for you to set up as the coach whatever you're trying to rep or get better at. But we all know that the magic typically is in the feedback that's provided and then the response that the players get from that. I think that the summertime is a great opportunity for coaches to practice that even before the season gets here. Specific things to improve that feedback.
Okay, I'm going to start with a little bit of what I was just talking about as far as designing a workout. I would do it this way. I think your job as a coach is you're designing environments, you're creating environments that are going to allow players to stretch just beyond their skill level. And that's super important. So I would actually say less feedback right now and let the environment give their own feedback. So we want to encourage more implicit learning where we shape the drill, we shape the game to where just by being in there, it goes back to where we started, like playing pickup. Just by playing, I'm going to get better. Then when we shape that environment, it's more targeted. So like just by playing this game with this constraint under these conditions, I'm going to have to use this set of skills. When skill exceeds challenge, that's more drill. You're more practicing that. Honestly, that's where your players are going to get a little bit unengaged, a little bored if you stay there too long. When skill and challenge are equal, you're really testing, right? That's more like training, like where are we? We're checking for understanding. And then when challenge slightly exceeds skill, that's where we grow. And I think that's your goal as a coach when you go into these player development workouts. If our skill level, I'm just going to put a number on it, is at a 5, how do we create a challenge at a 6? And if we operate there, now we move to a 6 and we just keep moving the goalpost in a kind of a scaffolding approach where we just keep plus oneing on the skill. So I'd start there. Is the environment should be the most feedback that your players hear. As far as actually giving feedback, let the rice cook. Think about this. Think about a sport that you don't play, or maybe an activity that you don't play. Like for me, I'm thinking a power clean, right? That is always interesting and funny to watch somebody that's never power cleaned before try to do that. To me, it's a complex movement. And it just takes time to get your body to move a certain way. You got to feel it. I know as coaches, a lot of times we'll show them something, we'll demonstrate, we'll give instruction, and then the first rep, we're like, oh no, we got to do this, right? And then the next rep, well, try this. Let the rice cook. I would go 10 reps before you give anything, because they're going to solve half the problems themselves, and that's the goal. When we talk about challenge exceeding skill, you're hoping that they find solutions, and the solutions may not be your exact solution. You as a player might pro hop there, and this other player might have some other solution that comes more natural to them. So let the rice cook. Don't give feedback first. Let the environment be the first bit of feedback that they get. And then the second thing would be go from general to specific. Instead of, and this may be more structured towards a team, but instead of, get a stop. Well, how about we say jump to the ball, or whatever's preventing us from getting a stop? Maybe we're not pressuring the ball enough. Maybe we're not getting back and getting set. So the feedback might be sprint. So in a player development environment, I would say limit your feedback to one thing. Pick the highest leverage thing and see if that solves the other things that you're seeing. Because identifying the root cause, the potential limiter in your players, will unlock everything else or make everything else irrelevant. For instance, talk about one thing our members get is you can send video of your players shooting and we'll give you shot feedback. Somebody in our community posted a video of one of their players, and I think they were trying to get rid of, if I remember correctly, the left hand thumb. We all know the guide hand thumb flick, where my initial feedback was actually that this wasn't a video, this was just text. So without seeing it, my guess was fix the right hand, because the right hand is likely on the side of the ball, which is making us do this deal. So it's more of a two-hand shot. If we move the right hand under, that probably fixes the left hand. So that'd be an example of, instead of trying to fix the left thumb flick, the right hand, the feet, the balance, everything, if we just move that right hand under, everything else might fix itself and become irrelevant. So I think looking through those lens as far as giving feedback can really help you as a coach stay sane. And you're going to have to really train your eye of what am I looking at and what am I actually going to coach, keep that to the highest leverage. And then last, I like to coach in analogies, or like some external cues where if you're saying, flick your wrist, that's more technique driven. If we can develop an analogy that players a little bit more sticky, it's something that they can actually envision and focus on, I think that leads to more transfer and more stickiness in your player development.
There's a concept that you mentioned, scaffolding, that some may not be familiar with. Those that are, I have found that they always love when you give more examples.
So there's a 4-step process that I think you can use to teach any skill. It is teach it, script it, read it, play it. And that could be an example of scaffolding where we're just building up. Okay? A principle that we use in SAVI is the power of +1. So if we're building a skill, Tony, I'll put you, you can put me on the spot, actually. Give me a skill that we're teaching. What are we working on today?
Let's do passing.
Let's say we're passing in dominoes or something, right? So we're working on scoring passes. Teaching it might be, hey, this is what a hook pass is, right? Or this is what I'm picturing like somebody driving down the lane line and jump skipping it to the opposite corner. Players may not be exposed to that, right? They may never have done that before. So there's going to be some demonstration. There's going to be some instruction. Once we get that, we can script it. We can say, all right, let's drive in and let's throw the jump skip to the corner when I help. So we're giving them a cue to look for is when I help, when I show chest, the only solution that we have is jump skipping to the corner. That's the scripted part. And then the read it part is now drive in, right? Our workout's going to start with finishing 9. So we've already got our finishing stuff in. But here's the read it part. So we got teach it, script it, read it. Read is going to be now I may or may not help. So I'm going to take the script off. And Tony, I'm going to put you in a position where when you drive, you got to drive with vision and you're looking for my chest. So we're working on catch reads, drive reads, and finishing reads now. When you drive, if I show chest, your solution is the jump skip or the hook pass. If you see shoulder, if I don't show chest, now you're going to finish. And then I would put you and whoever else we're working with, because we believe in bones over cones. Multiple players in the workout, to me, is just more ideal. We can get way more damage done. So now we're going to go in an environment where I'm going to put Tony with a small advantage. And that's going to, again, go back to the beginning of the conversation. That's going to force help rotation. It's going to force you into decisions where you may or may not need to finish, throw the hook pass or the jump skip, whatever we call it. And now we can skip it, click it, and play from there. And now we're working on using, finding, and finishing the advantage.
This is something that just comes to you because you've done this for a long time, but coaches will always ask me, this could even be something that you just described that you could use. But the idea of like a platform game or a platform drill, go-tos in the summertime, I'm even thinking about Gulf Coast, that kind of thing that you could explain to them that they could then take and either use directly or modify it to teach the things the way that you just described.
Okay. Yeah. So we're going through a player, like you said, we're walking through with our members player development through the month of April and the month of May. And we're building out this 10-layer system for player development. We're on our week 4. So we're on layer 4 of our player development course. In all of our systems, drive in space, race in space, lock left, our player development system, the first 4 layers are the core 4 layers. And if you just teach your players these 4 layers, you're going to have a really, really great foundation for your team. The 4 layers are layer 1 is playing off the catch, layer 2, drive reads, layer 3, playing off 2 feet, and layer 4 is finishing reads, which we're going to have live training with our members this week. So I'll give you an example where we left off last week on playing off 2 feet. Again, we're going back to teach it, script it, read it, play it. Whenever we go through a workout, especially playing off 2 feet, I want to always start with a prime. And a prime is just going to start priming their minds and bodies when they come in the gym on what we're working on. So I might start with something like starts and stops. Okay. And our catch reads, we've already taught starts. Now in playing off 2 feet, we're going to start to teach our stops. Our stops are typically stride stop, quick stop. Let's say we've never been exposed to a stride stop. This is where I would start. Let's teach them how to stride stop. There's a 4-step process that we go through to teach stride stops. And then how we start to build up from there is put them in a position where they need to stride finish, right? So now we're going to add a finish to the stride stop. Then we're going to put them in a position where they may or may not need to stride finish. They're going to have to make their read there. And then we start to just build up where we can play more live. The way that I would scaffold this is start one-on-one, no dribble at the rim. Okay, so begin with the end in mind. I'm going to feed a player. They're going to pivot. They're going to use shot fakes. They're going to step through. They're automatically going to start to use fakes and counters and pivots and step throughs to increase their vision, space, and time, vision, space, time, using their pivots to maybe take a so-so shot into a 9. Then I'm going to go 1 foot. Okay. And now we're going to start to build our reads from there. So now, 1 dribble. I said 1 foot. Now when we go 1 dribble, I take that dribble and I'm either going to create advantage or I'm right back to the previous drill that we did where now I'm playing without a dribble. I've got to use my foot fakes, my eyes to create an advantage. And we just keep +1ing from there. So then I would take a drill that might go 1-on-1 where they're going to read, do I need to stop? Our body's in front. So our sticky language here would be if no 9, buy time. How do we buy time? We play off 2 feet. How do we stop? Stride stop, quick stop are our 2 most common stops. Then we start to load players where we get the reads, we get the live to where the entire workout, we're building on the core skill of playing off 2 feet, which is layer 3, but we're still going to incorporate our layer 2 and layer 1 because we're scaffolding and we're building up from there. So a drill like Gulf Coast, I actually went through the evolution of Gulf Coast, how it came about. It's one of like the best things that we do. And it's one of the few things that I can take credit for as far as like developing and building. So I went through just like why we came up with it, how we did it, and how it evolved over the years. It now combines catch reads, drive reads, playing off 2 feet, and finishing reads. And that's why I love it. It's why our members love it, because the 4 core layers that we talked about, you get all 4 of them in Gulf Coast, and it's a high amount of reps in a very short amount of time.
You mentioned this, but coming this weekend, a resource. This has all been great. And I think that it's kind of would just whet the appetite for something that could be the main course for people this coming Sunday. Can you describe what that is, where that is, and how coaches can be a part of it?
Yeah. So every month, Tyler and I hop on YouTube Live and we do a webinar. These webinars are designed to preview the next 4 weeks of our deep dive. Again, we're going through 8 weeks of player development now. So we're talking about the secrets to unlock your offense. I'll give you one secret. A lot of it's going to be around player development and how does player development fit in with your team offense? Because I think that has been a disconnect for a lot of coaches. I know for me, we would do this skill development stuff and we would work our offense. And it's just like, I guess this is going to translate. Like, I guess we're making our players better. But I felt like those 2 things were in different buckets. Like we had skill development, we had offense. So when coaches ask, how much of your practice is skill development? Man, like when we're on the court, it's really tough not to work player or skill development because everything feeds the system, right? So we're going to be on YouTube Live Sunday night, 6 p.m. Central Time, and we'll preview some secrets to unlock your offense. And again, just going zoomed in a little bit, it's going to be how to fit your player development into your principles of play.
I will link that down below, so coaches, make sure that you check the description below so that you can catch that this coming Sunday. Always great stuff, Coach Cascio. Thanks so much for taking time for us.
Appreciate it. Stay savvy.